I think that depends on the DOP. Some of them are very happy to get involved and very keen to get involved, not just in the sort of effects process, but in the digital intermediate. You know, the grading and coloration of which is pretty much all done digitally these days. Others would rather lock the look in camera as a means of keeping control over it. Really, at the end of the day, it varies depending on the style of the DOP. Most DOPs on big-scale effect shows are very, very savvy about shooting the stuff, about green screen and about what we need. And you know, they'll very much, normally the effects supervisor's on set and will work very closely with the DOP. The DOP will say, look, can you get rid of that? Because it'll cost us 50 grand to move it. And I'll say, no problem, you know, it's digital anyway, we can get rid of that. Or I'll say, you know, that thing over there we've got a big problem with, you know, can we talk to the director about reframing and avoiding it? Or if you don't, it's going to cost X to fix, sort of thing. And that's an ongoing dialogue on set with any DOP who's working in effects work. And mostly, they're you know, most good DOPs I find are very open to it. They're quite interested. You know, their side is highly technical, and you know, the film stocks, the cameras have advanced massively in the last few years. The advent of digital cameras like the Genesis, you know, the Thompson Viper, that sort of the red camera has meant that in some ways what they're doing is even closer to what we do. You know, they connect on a disk drive, and most of them are very interested in that. We're very keen to have the DOP involved in the effects process. You know, I'm always very keen on that. When we did the Pinocchio for Roberto Benigni, the DOP was there a lot, and he was fantastically helpful in terms of actually Dante Spinotti, who's one of the best cameramen in the world, in my opinion, was very into the process, and in fact, we even relit one of his scenes digitally afterwards, which he thought was fantastic. He said, "You make me look good." He sat with us and moved lights around and things like that. You know, because there's some things the DOP, in some cases, a DOP who's got a strong vision isn't always able to realize that on set. You know, maybe the weather changes, maybe there isn't enough money for enough lights. You know, and sometimes we can help that. If we've got the DOP there and he says, "Look, what I really wanted to do here was this, but I couldn't because this, and this. Can you guys help make it look like what I originally wanted it?" In a lot of cases we can, and you know, a lot of our work is doing that these days. And you know, I think we sort of move hand in hand with the DOP more. If the DOP is willing to sort of accept that you know, we can help them realize what they're trying to put on the screen, then it can work very well. These days there is a tendency for some productions to sort of hire the DOP for the shoot and then go ahead and, you know, do the digital processing on his footage in the absence of the DOP. Now, I think that's a bad thing myself, and if I'm asked, I recommend heavily to the production that they budget to have the DOP there at the digital intermediate, because he knows what he shot, he knows how far he can push it, he knows where he was going to push it, and what the lighting was set up to do. And for anyone else to sit there and you know, try and work with that is A, inefficient, because the guy who shot it's going to be the guy who gets the best look the quickest, and B, as you say, you know, I think that would be, if I was a DOP, that would be much more threatening to me than visual effects shots. You know, I think we tend to get lumped in with that end of the technology by some DOPs, and they don't realize they're completely separate processes. Nicola's a brilliant cameraman, and in some ways, a lot of the live action in the film is almost a paean to London. You know, the sort of dark side of London. There's wonderful late night shots of Tower Bridge and St. Paul's and things like that, which he shot. You know, and they look like, you know, Dickensian paintings. They look absolutely gorgeous. And he also, we had him in. He was the DOP on the miniature shoot, because he's a very technically savvy director of photography and very interested in the technology of post-production. So he, you know, it's unusual that normally you have a different director of photography on the miniature shoot, but in this case, Nicola was essential to go both sides of it, because he'd been, again, involved from day one. We discussed not just the live action sequences, but the effect sequences. And also he knew exactly where we were going. He works very well with Terry. So, you know, he was, you know, the overall look of the thing, particularly from the live action, is very much his, very much deep shadows and strong compositions. You know, and, you know, again, he knows what Terry wants, and I think he delivered very well. I think the live action in the film looks very good indeed.